So, first of all, welcome to my first try on making a YouTube video on product leadership and product management. This is the video about how we in Whimsical use Whimsical to build Whimsical. My name is Nicholas Stevenson and I'm a VP product here at Whimsical, and I'll try to take you through the entire process and we'll see how well it goes. So first of all, we are inspired by a lot of great product thinkers and product leaders. Basecamp being one of them. Their book Shape Up that describes how you take something from idea to execution is super good. We take parts of it, remix it with our own thoughts on product management, and then we end up with our own process. Another good thinker that we are super inspired by is Marty Kagan. His book Empowered is my leadership Bible. It's how it describes how I structure my teams. And again, we take bits and pieces from it and mix it together with all the other inputs. I just want to highlight these two books because that is what you'll mostly see in this video, but there's tons of good books out there that we take inspiration from. And of course, also do our own thinking. So before we go into how we actually use our own tool to build features in Whimsical, I just want to highlight, so you understand a little bit better, our product process. Everything starts in discovery. We run what's called dual track agile, and everything starts in discovery with shaping problems. We talk a lot about issues our users are having with our software, jobs to be done that we would like our software to solve, or just also our own itches that we want to scratch using our own tool, because we, as you can see here, use it heavily. A product team owns a piece of our product and they can do all the pitches that they want to write up within that scope. And they'll end up talking about it with our leadership team in what we call team jams. And in the team jams, it's basically about discussing all the nitty-gritty small details. But it's important here to note that the team is empowered to take decisions themselves. These product jams are not about the leadership team doing reviews or kind of taking decisions on behalf of the team. It's all the team that just gets input from senior people with senior experience, and have that creative shared process together. Then the pitches, and we'll go back to what it is in a pitch in a moment, but the pitches are then finally shaped into the final version that we can bring to what's called the betting table. And I'll also come back to that, but the betting table is basically where we take decisions on what we are going to implement in our product. So this is kind of the loop that goes on all the time. It's called dual track agile because the team is basically doing discovery and delivery constantly at the same time. So you are shaping the next pitches to be brought to the betting table for the next cycle, while you're also delivering the features that were selected for the current cycle. There's more information about both kind of the pitching process and the betting table and the structure of the pitches in Shape Up, and there's more information about dual track in Empowered. So if you're interested, definitely go and read those two books. They're both linked below. But just so you have a little bit of an overview, we have a pitch template that will also link below. That is basically where all of this starts for our teams. In the pitch template, there is a problem statement, and that's where you start. You basically have to have a problem. Don't ever start with the solution. Start with what is the problem for your users or for yourself, which is completely fine as well. Then we usually fluctuate between starting with appetite or solution, but the appetite is basically how much time is it valuable for our company to put into solving this problem. It's important that this is not an estimate. This is about how much time do you want to put in, not how much time we should put in. So this is basically a handbrake to when we should stop working on something when the project slips, which quite often happens for all of us. Then we outline the solution, and here the fidelity is important. We try not to do pixel perfect design before we've bet on something. That ends up spending too much time for the designer doing all the perfect versions. This is basically, using our own wireframing tool. I'll show you a pitch in a moment, but using our own wireframing tool to quickly hash out what a solution could be. Then something you will not find in a Shape Up book is the impact. And it's something that I've added for multiple years, also other places I've been. we have different goals that we want to achieve. We have different, maybe you want to get a better adoption rate, or maybe you want to get more people to create a certain item type, or all of these kind of different goals for the company. And the impact is basically where we either try to hash out the KPI that we try to achieve, or just write something like, as you will see in the pitch I'll show you in a second, get more people to write comments. Not necessarily, a specific number of more comments that we want written, but it's just like what impact do we expect from this pitch? Then we have the rabbit hole, which is basically, what could be places where we could go down a rabbit hole that we should basically try and keep out of. And lastly, a little bit related are the no-goes, stuff we will not do. So let's try and jump in and see what a pitch actually looks like. So right now we are working on comment reactions with emojis, which is something we don't have today in our comments. So if we open up a comment here, you can see all you can do is write comments. You cannot actually react to stuff with emojis, which is an awesome way of communicating. So the problem is outlined, the appetite is outlined, and then when we come to the solution, the super cool thing about Whimsical Docs is that you can work closely together with the Whimsical boards. So in this example, Todd have created a board that have a wireframe and a process in it that outlines the solution. So I can just double click here and then it takes me straight into that board where I can see the wireframe, and here you can see the fidelity, how low it actually is. And this is something everybody can create. You don't need to be a designer to create this fidelity of a mockup. And the cool thing is that if I wanted to add another wireframe in here as well, I could just, use our / menu and do a wireframe. And then in here, I can draw something. Let's say I want to do something with a window, something with a button. And there you go. That's a wireframe. And now that wireframe is directly in my document. It is a super, super awesome tight integration between the two ways of communicating, which is a visual communication, and of course the more text-heavy communication as well. So in here we have the full page with the solution outline. There's even a bit of talking about notifications, and yeah, a lot of information in here, the rabbit hole, the no-goes, and so on. This pitch is then brought to what we call a cycle document, which is basically a document that starts very early before the cycle starts, like multiple weeks before, where we start to collect all the pitches that we want to bring to the betting table. And the betting table is basically where the product manager for the team sits together with the leadership team, and we decide on what things we believe that we should build and ship in our product. So if we go down here to the docs team who is working on these reactions, you can see here that pitch for comment reactions is in here. And you can also see that we actually selected to do it. So in here, you can also see all the stuff that we selected not to do, which is an important part of the betting table. When we're done with the meetings, all of them are getting recorded. So you can see that here there's a 53-minute meeting recording. So everybody can jump in and see, how unspecial of a meeting it is, and understand the debates that we had about each of the pitches. And again, go and read about Basecamp and how they've communicated these betting tables in the Shape Up book. It's a pretty good read. Then now we have a list of pitches that the team needs to deliver during the cycle. And basically what they do is what we call an omniboard. An omniboard is using our own projects tools in Whimsical to do a very traditional Kanban style project management, where you have all the different pitches that are selected for this team to work on. And for each pitch, we have our own swim lane, or whatever you want to call it, the Kanban process, with that inbox for new stuff that shows up, to-dos that we already know that we will be doing, stuff that are in progress, and then pull requests. And the super cool thing here is that this works exactly like documents. So in here, you can have checklists, you can have embedded stuff. So in here, there's a Loom video, there's a Figma file, there's a few notes, and then you can have comments as well. And here, there's a few of them that are resolved. But if we jump into the other one, there's also comments that is still going on. It is a super, super cool tool that really ties all of this together. And in the end, you'll end up having a pitch. And the cool thing is that every time you mention a document, there's a backlink created. So in the bottom of the pitch, you can see all the places where this pitch has been mentioned throughout Whimsical, if it's in a to-do or wherever it is. It is super, super cool. So that is basically how we use Whimsical to build Whimsical.